About 3 years ago when we bought this house, this garage was butt naked. And everything in the garage has changed, but one thing that hasn't is the laundry room. Matter of fact, the only thing that's changed in it is we've thrown in a bunch of our crap and added a washer and dryer. Now, when we were touring the house, my wife was saying the most ridiculous things you could ever imagine. She said something about parking our cars in here. I know, it's ridiculous. She also said something about outdoor storage equipment and Christmas decorations. It might as well be in Hebrew. I didn't understand it. But lastly, she had this idea of expanding the laundry room out so that she could do something she called all the laundry in one place. Hey, remember that time you disobeyed me? And I said you would be in deep, deep trouble and have to pay me back?
No.
You don't remember?
No.
You don't remember that time? But the last thing she wanted was she wanted some doors to cover up the washer and dryer so that when we, park the cars in here and we open the garage door, people wouldn't have to stare at our washing machines. Now, of course, being a sane individual, at the time, I knew none of this was going to happen. But, two things. I wanted the house, and I'm also married, so I know better than to talk back. So, now here in the future, of course, I was correct and none of that happened, but one thing I have noticed is that every single time that I shoot a video, y'all have to stare at my bleach bottles. And also, every time I do a project, sawdust gets all up in there, including in my machines. And as much as I think walnut dust enhances a t-shirt, I can assure you it does not enhance underwear. Don't ask how I know. So we need to build some doors, not only to help cover up the eyesore of the laundry room, but also to help isolate it from the wood shop so that I don't have to buy baby powder anymore. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and make some doors, but not just any doors, because I could just go buy the accordion doors that the tracks are already set up for. That'd be easy. I hate easy. Let's do it. Yes, John, let's do it. That introduction took forever. And of course, you lead us straight into doing arts and crafts instead of real woodworking. But it is important because what I'm doing here is I'm cutting up some pieces and taping them together so that I can illustrate a few rules that must be followed with this project. Over here, you'll see that I have all the cardboard laid out here on the table and pinned. Now, if you look over here on the left, I have what is considered a normal door. It's a rectangle. And I thought maybe the diagonals were what was like really important. But you'll see here, even though the diagonals go all the way to the corner, if I try opening it up all the way, it'll stop before the two lobes over here clear out of the way. And also, if I tried to move them completely out of the way, somehow this top piece has to magically float with fairy dust or something. So that's not going to work. I'm all out of that. Now, when I go over here, even though I didn't cut the diagonals all the way to the corner, you'll see that everything clears. So it really doesn't matter where you cut these pieces. What matters is that you have a square made up of 4 pieces. The problem is that our door looks like that, and we have to cover it with something that looks like this. So let's go ahead and get started. Now I get to finally do some real woodworking. And I decided to start by cutting down these panels using this sexy pose. And then once I get it down to something a little bit more manageable, I cut 2 perfect squares and cut those squares in half into 4 perfect triangles. And these are going to be the 4 corners of our door. Now this might be a little hard to follow, but we need those 4 corners, 4 diagonal pieces, and something I'm calling the center diamond. So I go ahead and start by cutting some plywood to width for our diagonals, and I cut a 45-degree angle on one end. We can then use that triangle we made earlier
and strike a line so I know the exact shape I need to cut to. And this helps me avoid using any math, which I hate. And it even lets me use this piece as a master for the other 3 pieces. Now I need a little bit of extra width on this diagonal, so I cut a few inches of cherry for each panel, and I use the exact same method of using the triangle to cut it to shape. And what this is going to do is this is going to ensure that all 4 panels that make up the larger door are the exact same size, because we need this door to be a perfect square, otherwise it won't open and close properly. Now I decided to attach them with a Craig jig, and once I had that done, I started focusing on the center diamond. I wanted to use this wormy maple, but I'm stubborn and I wanted the grain in this direction. So in order to make that work, I went ahead and cut the stock into smaller strips and jointed each end, because I'm going to glue it into one really large panel. Now if I play my cards right, I can actually cut the panel like this and get all the pieces I need for the center diamond. So I go ahead and glue this up to sit overnight, and in the morning, the best part of woodworking by far is peeling the glue off of this brush. Now here I am, I'm actually really nervous because if you play your cards right again, the first offcut and the last offcut will glue together to make a perfect triangle, and it worked. And nothing ever works for me, so I was very excited. This door is finally starting to come together, so I went ahead and started installing the hinges. And you need these mechanical hinges here to actually allow the door to function and get out of its own way. And you'll see how it works at the end. But not only do you need these metal hinges, you also need a center hinge for the right side of the door and for the left side of the door. And the one on the right side of the door is going to be on the front, and the one on the left is going to be hidden inside the door. So I wanted to go ahead and accent that front side hinge, so I decided to take this big block of walnut, draw out the shape of the hinge that I want, and cut it out using the table saw and the jigsaw. Now once I have it freed from the larger square, I went ahead and took it over to the drill press to drill out where the bolt's gonna go, and then I can start trying to free it from itself. I used this Dremel tool to cut down the circular shape I needed, and then I tried using this tool, but it ended up catching my piece on fire. So I decided to be an idiot and make this cut, which worked fine, but don't make this cut. Not only is it dangerous, it still caught my piece on fire. Now, after I got rid of all the burntness with a chisel and a couple grits of sandpaper, you can actually see how this hinge is going to work and operate. Now, I go ahead and put all 4 pieces back together and scribe a circle around as kind of a guide, because I'm going to power carve out a shape. I started out wanting to make like a seashell shape for some odd reason. I don't know if I just missed the beach, but I ended up making a sea turtle, I guess. I'm not quite sure. But what video wouldn't be complete without slow-mo? Now after I went ahead and finished with the shape that I liked, I decided that I wanted to add this dimple effect to all the cherry pieces on the door. And this is really fun watching, but it took about an hour per piece of cherry, and they're not very big pieces. Now, my wife wanted me to not only paint the laundry room, but also the trim, and I was very happy to do so. I had no problem at all. It's not that the trim was fine as it was. But once it was dry, I went ahead and installed the trim, and I can go ahead and start putting this door together. I start drilling the holes in all 4 corners and go ahead and cut the support posts that are going to have to go on the outside of the structure that the laundry room sits in. Once I have those pieces cut and shaped, I went ahead and marked lines on all 4 pieces and went ahead and pre-drilled where I wanted the bolts to go that will actually attach the door. Once that's done, I went ahead and drilled and screwed these pieces to the actual structure. And here I tried installing the door myself, which was a terrible idea because I ended up getting whacked in the head. And after I got consultation from my dog, I went ahead and just hired some help. And even though they were very expensive, it was worth every penny. Now, this wooden hinge here in the front is not very structurally sound, so I added some metal washers and the screws poked through, and I just grinded them down flat. But once that was done, we're in business, baby.
You guys think? I'm changing it. Reality is that this door really isn't that functional, and it's heavy as a mother, which means I'm probably the only person who can open and close it. You see, part of the function of the door is you actually have to support some of its weight when you're rotating it in or out, open and closing it, and no one else in my family can do that, which means I'd actually have to come down here and open and close it anytime somebody wanted to do the laundry. And I actually only had kids so that they could sand my furniture and do my laundry. That's the deal me and my wife made, and I'm sticking to it. And so if I have to come down here and open and close the door all the time, these kids are smart. They're going to start expecting me to do my own laundry. And then after that, they're going to start expecting me to sand my own furniture. And I just can't be having this. It's little steps like this that can quickly escalate to something that's out of hand, gentlemen. You have to watch out for these things. So to get ahead of the curve, I'm going to go ahead and just replace the door. Plus, I want them to enjoy using it and also be able to use it. And I especially don't want my wife to have to stress about opening or closing this door when I'm not home for some reason. You got to keep her happy. Plus, I like my bed, so we're going to keep doing it. There's a few things that I like about the door and a few things that I don't. Again, it is heavy, and I tried compensating for that by installing some springs on these joints on the inside. And while it doesn't help with the weight, it does help with sucking the door back in, and it makes it feel really, really cool. The function of pulling it in and out looks really cool, and for me feels cool, but again, overall isn't the best idea. Few things that I think if you want to make this yourself will fix a lot of your problems. The door has to be the same height as width, as I stated earlier. So in order to have enough height for the door, I had to make mine wider than the actual structure it's going on. Most people probably won't run into this situation. I had mine on these support blocks up here in the corner, and that meant that I had some racking. So as long as you have a flat surface reference, you'll be great. Also, don't be a cheap piece of meat like me, gentlemen, or ladies, whoever's out there watching. Buy some better hinges. I bought cheap hinges and I used cheap screws. Buy proper screws and proper hinges, and that'll help with this potato chipping look I have when you look at it from the side. Looks like beef jerky had baby with raisin. I mean, it's really rough. Lastly, this wood hinge here in the center. I made two of them, one out of plywood and one out of hardwood. The one that's made out of plywood is inside this door, and it's probably the best functioning piece on the entire door, which makes sense. Plywood is stable with alternating grain layers, so it doesn't matter where you move the door, the grain is going to support itself. With this hardwood turtle looking thing I made up here, it was an attempt from me to try and hide the wood hinge that I have on the front. And while I do like it, hardwood, like all wood, has grain, and eventually you're going to turn the door to where the grain doesn't like it and it's going to crack. And when I say crack, I mean like 5 times. Right now you can't tell from right there, but this wood hinge is held together with nothing but screws, half a pack of gum, and what's left of my hopes and dreams, which isn't much. So, with that being said, I think I'm going to turn this, now that I have achieved my goal, I'll count this as a success. And we'll turn this into something a little bit more functional. Check it out. So what do you think? I know it doesn't look any different, but what I did was I connected the doors into 2 solid doors that now rotate on hinges. So I know it's a simple door, but aren't all doors really simple? So anyways, what's great is now everybody can use this, and I've already not done laundry in it, which has been awesome. As you saw, the inside of the laundry room did get a refresh as well, which has made not doing laundry that much more enjoyable. But what's great is I even added some walnut accents, and I even made a really cool locking mechanism right down here, but I'm kind of cheating. I haven't put finish on it yet. So for this video, I just poured mineral spirits on it to lie to you, but I guess I'm not lying now since I told you. Either way, if you guys really like this project and you like some of the other videos that I've put out, please consider subscribing and give us a like. That lets YouTube know that other people might like this video and they might get a chance to watch it as well. If you guys have any advice on things you might have done different, or things I did wrong, or some advice on how to improve the Kinetic Door, because I might make it in another project later, please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Definitely brainstorm, come up with some solutions. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time.